Got daisies and unicorns, and here we are. This is still season 9, and which episode are we on? Is this 5?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, because 4 you didn't like, right? 4 you were like
number 4.
right? The number 4.
I'm just not happy with
not the episode 4. I mean, but yeah. So the number 4 you didn't like, and I think that was the one that we did last time, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's because we missed a week.
I have been mistaken in the past, like the season number. Or that could also be a conspiracy. Who knows? It's still under investigation.
Episode 4, the National Reserve.
There you go. So we are
which
on 5.
was right in the area of when Tina Turner died, and so my question was, what's gold got to do with it? What's love got to do with it?
Yeah. Tina Turner.
All the secondhand emotions.
All the secondhand emotions.
Yeah.
Secondhand. Somebody feels it for you?
I have no idea. I don't know how this fits into
Or I feel it
anything
with
that we're
somebody
doing right now.
Right. Well, today it's sunny in Chicago. It's quite a day. You know, sun's out, which means
Sun's out, guns out.
right. But yeah, so with the weather is kind of nice still. It says it's only 68 degrees out here in Chicago right now.
Well, and I thought that, I mean, we got hit with a hot streak. I mean, like 3 weeks ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Where it was steamy and toasty.
Right.
Or toasty that made it steamy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I still come back to, I mean, gosh, this weather's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful, if you wonder.
Yeah. I don't even mind if we just stay here all summer long. Like, to me, let's find this niche that we've found ourselves in, right? Let's kind of just settle here for maybe the whole summer. I know that's a pipe dream. I wonder where that term comes from, pipe dream.
I'm not sure.
I don't know either. But you know, sometimes the axioms that we use, I was like, yeah, I wonder if that's even right. You know, pipe dream, or if there was some other section of that. But that's another side conversation that we could follow all the rabbit trails, which probably also is another axiom.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were off a week. You were spending time in the land of Iowa, and I was in Charlotte.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it's travel. There are people who love to travel. Mm-hmm. I'm a bit of a homebody. Like, would prefer not to have to travel, but traveling ends up being. I think I even stated to the family, well, that's really weird.
what's happening?
The on-air button kicked on.
Oh, yeah, that is weird. We're not trying to go on air.
That's true.
We're staying off the air right now.
But, you know, I was like, man, like, I don't know if it's called kinetic teleportation or like whatever, but like, I'd really like to be able to think about being somewhere and be able to get there.
Yeah.
All of me.
I'd like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would definitely take out the both the longer car rides and any kind of plane travel.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this last time in the airport wasn't too bad. You know, I mean, security lines were down. I didn't wait. I mean, I walked right through security, walked up to the, right through the screening. I mean, it was pretty seamless. I'm like, okay.
What day did you fly on?
That would have been a Tuesday night.
So, probably.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think if you can travel on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, it's better.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I ended up scheduling all of my subsequent trips out there for a Wednesday, Thursday. So
Nice. Nice.
Try to get that all lined up there. So yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So it was kind of pleasant. Yeah. I mean, even the airfare. I mean, because the prices on flights have been jumping up too, and
Right.
out to Charlotte, it wasn't too bad either. So
Nice.
yeah.
So
So it's kind of a bonus.
if I'm looking for an opportunity not to be like a homebody,
Yeah.
you're saying that a trip out to Charlotte could be the
It could.
ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
No, I mean, and I don't know how hot Charlotte gets in the summertime, but we're going to find out. We're going to find out.
Yeah. Well, when I was back in Iowa, I got to play 9 holes of golf with my
Ooh.
son Micah.
Yeah.
And that was lovely. I'm not sure how he feels about me sharing scores, but we were pretty much neck and neck until the last hole that I triple bogeyed.
Oh.
I let it get in my head. A 200-yard par 3.
Oh. And you triple bogeyed it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I lost to
Was
Micah
it
by 2 strokes.
Short game? Is that the problem or what?
Well, yeah. So part of it was like I had the right length for what I should have done is I should have taken out an iron instead of trying to drive the green.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have laid up about 50 yards out so I would have a nice chip, like flop wedge shot. But yeah, so then I'm over behind a tree to the left, and then when I went to kind of push one through underneath the branches with my 7-iron, then it went blub, blub, blub. And then when I hit the next one, I didn't go back and get a different club, which I should have done.
Yeah.
And then I hit one over the green, and then from being over the green, then I dubbed one coming back, and then the 2-putt. Oh, it was just horrible.
So there were many complications with the hole.
Well, actually, that hole was one, and then there was another hole that I was left on that I pulled out my driver to hit like just a low flyer going underneath these trees, and I dubbed that one to like I think I could improve my score by at least 4 strokes. And then I'm like, why am I hitting all this stuff left? And I laid down a club to see my my line, and I was just lining up, pointing left. So, but that's the first time I've golfed in over a year. So, I mean, 46, 48, it's not bad.
Yeah.
For a
It's
hack.
not too bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, breaking 90 could be like in my foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. Well, you'd have to golf 18 holes to break 90.
It's true.
But the thing about golf, and it wasn't expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like $28 per person with a cart for 9 holes. I mean,
Yeah.
and
That's
I'm sure if
decent.
you went for 18, I mean, it would be like that second 9 is cheaper, you know, when you buy it as a package. But yeah, I just really, really enjoyed that. I think I'm going to get out to golf with my cousin Brandon next weekend. Not this coming weekend, but, and in theory, in being at a fundraiser for Project 52, which is actually a golf event, you would think that I would be golfing, but I'm not.
You're not.
I'm going there to be hands and feet.
Yeah.
And so, but doesn't mean I won't take the clubs. Because if somebody wants to get up early Saturday morning and go, I'd probably go for 9 holes
There you go.
before coming back. But Yeah. So, but it was good to move, stretches, and like
Yoga.
I need to be working on my flexibility. Yeah. So, which
So Pilates and yoga.
oh yeah, the doctor did tell me about Pilates a couple years ago. I still haven't tried it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's much harder than it looks.
You've been a Pilates sampler in your past life?
Well, I did go through. There was like this program or something that was on there, and they had some like days of like lifting or cardio, and then there were days where it was like stretching, and then Pilates was part of that. So it was like one of the days was all Pilates. You're like, oh, well, this should be easy. Like it hurts. It hurts.
Life hurts.
Right. And, I mean, yoga takes some flexibility that, is not always a part of my my regular motion in my body is not always in yoga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stretching and flexibilities and Yeah. So some golf happened.
Yep.
So do you think it was maybe you just wanted to let Micah win, and maybe
No.
we can start that.
Conspiracy? No. I mean, we were having a good time, and I mean, it just, it was, it was really fun.
Yeah.
And so, I remember like back in the day, I really liked to play basketball, and back in the day when I started learning how to golf, or like I golfed a little bit in high school and through college and stuff like that, but then like in my mid 20s, golf was definite, like it was my hobby of release, just to go out and be out on the court. I just loved played a lot of golf. And then Miles taught me how to golf, and he just, and now all based on all of that is the muscle memory from when Miles taught me. My problem is my muscle memory is not remembering exactly. my muscle memory has gotten a bit forgetful.
Right.
But it's due
Your
to
muscles are like, wait, no.
yeah.
It's not how this is going to go.
Well, it's kind of like me singing. Anymore, like if I pull out a guitar and play and sing, I'm about one full step down from where, like when I was at Glory Day.
Like octaves.
Not octave. Like if I was capoed 3 playing in key of G, which is the natural key of B flat, then you just back down not a half a step but a full step, and so that would put me at B flat down to A. Well, I mean technically it would be A flat, or if you like the black keys, B sharp or G sharp. But if I'm doing that, I mean, I might just as well I'd try it just in regular G, because it just depends on who's playing with you or whatever. But that's probably a bad example, because normally, well, if I capoed 2 and played C shapes, which is in D, I would just take the capo off and play in the key of C. And so, but I pick all those capos because my fingers don't do barred chords, and I don't do that stuff very well. So, I mean,
bar chords, they're apparently tough from what I hear.
Once you get them, they're your friend for life. But, then it's about hand strength and sometimes the way your guitar's set up. I think people who play electric guitars are more inclined to learn the bar chords because the strings are lighter and it's easier to fret that out and stuff.
Wow.
But and then I learned how to play guitar, and so then golf took the back shelf, and it was during the season of life where I was raising children, and so then the expense got redirected into some guitar stuff and then having time. And then that's the other thing, man. 18 holes of golf is like 4.5 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours.
Right.
I think Micah and I golfed. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes. So for 9 holes, and then like, do you really? I've got other stuff I want to do with my time, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot to commit.
Yeah.
I remember still trying. I mean, so like golf was a good thing. I mean, but for me, golf was like, it's like the most frustrating thing that
Sure.
almost, I would probably say it's the most frustrating sport that I've tried, and still wasn't, I had moments that was fine, but I still like it. It's frustrating. It's a frustrating sport to me.
Yeah.
And it's probably a lot of it was like, I mean, I had a lot of like introduction work to like hand, placement and all of that stuff, but still not a lot of how do you apply these skills to this now. I mean, like you had a pretty skilled instructor.
Yeah. Miles was like he golfed on the Nike tour when it was they call it something else right now because of different sponsors and stuff, but yeah, he was semi-pro. I mean, he held the course record at the course in Knoxville, which is just a little billy goat 9-hole. But that's the thing. And my dad always said, quote from Don here, my dad never was a member at any course. But he did enjoy the game so much that after his kids went to college and graduated, then he joined a men's league. So like on Tuesdays or Thursday nights, they'd go out and they'd be paired and they had things figured out for handicaps and all that.
So kind of like a golf rec league.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And actually Micah recommended, he's like, you know what, you should join a men's league, and it's one evening a week, and then his prescription of that was you'll get to meet new people, and be able to get around, and plus you enjoy the game, and so then you can get out and be moving and enjoy that. And I did not take him up on that challenge this year. Doesn't mean that it won't be for next year, but yeah. And I actually probably should have. It won't happen this week, but it probably won't happen next week either. I don't know what I'm going to do. What I really should do is I should go hit a couple bucket of balls.
Yeah.
The problem with hitting a bucket of balls, to your point, is if you're not practicing systematically for a purpose, all you're doing is just hitting balls.
Right.
Like a lot of times when I hit a bucket of balls, what I'll do is I'll play through 9 holes in my head. Because they've got markers,
Right.
and so you pick a spot and then you shoot towards that. That's your drive. Then based on that, then you pick, you want to work through your irons. So, I mean, whether you want to hit your 5, your 6, or your 7,
Yeah.
that gives you good yardage to know where you're hitting your irons. That's in your course management. Then once you hit the 7, play a par 4 in your head. Then you need a chip shot, and then when you get done, you can, go out to the practice green, which practice greens are really deceiving because usually on the practice green, the course manager isn't really taking care of the practice green like they take care of their regular greens.
Sure.
But at least it gives you, some work. Now, where the professionals play, that's happening. Like their practice greens are immaculate.
Pristine.
Yes, and taken care of that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so play through that. But a big part of what I love about golf is like hit the ball and then get creative. What's it going to take for me to get in and out of this situation? And so it's response to, and if you hit a bad shot, you hit a bad shot. All right. Pick it up and let's go. I mean, meaning that not the ball. I mean, just, but yeah. And people who like waggle and like or people who hit a bad shot and they've got a ball in their pocket and they're like, they've got 2 balls or 3 balls in their pocket and they're hitting these other, those golfers drive me crazy. I mean, literally, that moves me into a place of, is it worth the time? Like, if I killed them, would it be worth spending time in jail? I mean, just an irritation.
Right.
Speaking of irritated, Steve, can I go off here for a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in Iowa, and we go to the grocery store, and school must have been out. And so within the first 7 minutes of going into the local Hy-Vee, all of a sudden, I hear these kids say, "Excuse me," and there's 2 7th graders or 6th graders riding around on these mini carts that are battery operated, going through all the aisles
In the store.
in the store. I looked for leg braces before I got upset, but literally asking me to move because they're playing in the store.
In the store.
In the store. Hey, you're in my way. What? Who? Really? Then we get over to, and my mom and Phoebe were with me, and so then we get into the vegetable section of the store, and there was a crew of about 6 guys, probably, I'm guessing, they all look younger than, like,
It's true.
like if you belly up for a beer somewhere, there's people who are at the bar that you're like, you're 21.
Right.
So everybody looks at, but I'm guessing this group of, and probably because of height and size and stuff like that, probably sophomore to juniors in high school. And one of these kids walks up while his buddy got his camera and walks up to Phoebe and holds out $1 and says something real quick. And I turned around and looked. They were probably shooting TikTok something. And I looked and I'm like, no, that's not going down here. I said, you just turn around, shut off the camera and delete. I said, we're not dealing with this right now. And she was taken back because, I mean, she can speak English fluently and stuff, but there,
Right.
It was moving so fast and strangers were coming at her that she was really confused about. And she said, what are they doing? And I'm like, whatever they were doing, it was just no good. And we're not taking that. Oh, so then now I'm already, the bear has been poked.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm
Multiple times now.
hacked off, and so we check out. Well, then this thunderstorm had started, and the rain is just coming down. Meanwhile, TikTok boys are hanging out in the doorway
Of the grocery store.
of the grocery store. Like, apparently they TikTok their way through the store, and we're all done. And they're there, and they're just loud and just cutting up. All of a sudden, this kid goes out the automatic doors and does a belly flop in the middle of the driveway in front of the thing, swimming in the puddles of water. And then gets up and walks back into the store and is just cutting it up with his buddies. And I'm like, in my head, was thinking, I wish somebody else would have just ran over him. This is all in Steve's head, the
Right.
world would be a better place.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to run over him.
Well, stupidity abounds.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I was irritated. So we got in the car. We got the groceries in the car. The ladies got in the car. And I said, I'm sorry I'm in such a bad mood, but those guys just really, really hacked me off.
Yeah.
I said, apparently now I have moved into angry, bitter old man takes it out on society. And Phoebe's like, you're not an old man. All right, so I'm angry and bitter, taking it out on society.
Right. You're not old, just angry and bitter.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phoebe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the nature of them trying to be able to catch something or do something that's going to bring some kind of notoriety to their life. That's what their goal.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and you would think that the store would have an issue with that. Like that there would be some, I mean, especially with the I would say younger kids that are jumping on these electric scooters that I think are meant for people that have a hard time with mobilization.
Right.
But yet they're using them for the sake of entertainment.
Yeah.
And it's not it's intentional, right? But yeah, that's probably my side of like, hey, like, so you are not a consumer here. You're trying to be able to use the things here that are actually going to bring more chaos to this instead of less.
Yeah.
We're shooting for less chaos. So you please move.
Yeah, exactly. You're saying you're in my way. Oh, just
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sets it off pretty quickly.
I got a joke for you.
Yeah? Is it a dad joke?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I think. So what does a conspiracy theorist and Excel have in common? The program, Excel.
Yeah. Like the Microsoft version, yeah?
Yeah.
Does it have to do with Bill Gates?
It does not.
Oh, man.
You can ask me 3 more questions.
All right. Organized chaos.
That's not the answer.
What's the answer? Conspiracy theories in Excel.
They both spread sheets.
They both spreadsheets. Yes, the Excel jokes and conspiracy now being woven into our conversation.
Yeah.
Almost half an hour in, so.
Well, it's perfect timing.
It's a perfect time.
Yeah.
It's a perfect time to bring in the topic of the day. As we've been talking about conspiracy theories in season 9. We're going to continue.
Episode 5.
All right, so episode 5, and where are we landing with the conspiracy theories today, Steve? What are we going to be doing?
Well, in our research, we went ahead and took a look, and there are some just incredibly unbelievable conspiracies.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even wrap my head around it. I'm like, really? People actually think this? Mm-hmm. Now, many people who are listening could be like, gentlemen, have you listened to yourselves?
I have.
Good for you. I don't. But when people are like, oh, remember that episode? I'm like, no. Oh, man. So
we looked over some of these conspiracy theories, and we would put them in the camp of absurd.
And they're in no particular order of absurdity. So if you want to classify them, you can pull up Excel and you can start
spreading your sheets. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but you can start the list, and so excel yourself as much as you want.
Excel, and you will excel in the land of conspiracy.
I have several people who are just absolutely enamored with Excel, and they love everything that's about Excel. So we're going to kind of bounce these back and forth.
Yeah.
We don't even know how many we have that seem absurd, but we're going to start the numbering system right now. Number 1.
Yeah.
And it's not like a David Letterman top 10 where
Right.
you start from 10 and you go down to the most absurd.
Right.
We've already disclosed that.
We're just going to have a whole bunch of absurdity.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Number 1.
Number 1.
Prince Charles, who I believe is actually the king now.
Yes. Former Prince Charles, now King Charles.
Prince Charles is a vampire.
Yeah.
That's the conspiracy theory. Why? Well, the king is related to Vlad the Impaler, the inspiration for Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah.
And many royals in Charles's bloodline are known or were known to have the disease porphyria, which is an iron deficiency that causes people to be sensitive to sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're looking for the Dracula injection,
Yeah.
you want to get the disease porphyria. Like, I mean, just go get sick with it, and
Okay.
you'll become sensitive to sunlight. And it may be that that's why vampires actually drink blood, is because they're trying to heighten their iron content,
Maybe.
which is horrible if they pick someone who's anemic.
It's true.
Had to use my one $8 word for the day.
Right. Anemic.
So when you see this come up more and more, like if people are disappearing in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
we just need to gather the information
Mm-hmm.
as a group of people looking
Yeah.
for, how will we bring this all together?
Yeah.
King Charles, the vampire.
Yeah, so a couple of questions towards this conspiracy is, I mean, based on my understanding of vampires is that they don't age. So how is it that we can track the aging process in him? But so I know we haven't done extensive research on this absurd theory, but it might be a place to be able to start with that, is to say, like, how is it that he has aged but he's still a vampire? Or is it a new, somewhat like vampires are still going to be in the kind of the under the shadows? I think there's a TV series funny about In the Shadows. It's based on some vampires. So yeah, but I don't know. So some of those questions are like, all right, so if he doesn't, sunlight is an issue for him, but you would also think is aging now, is it a different process for that? I don't know. So I have lots of questions towards that. I wonder how it started. I mean, I know it's really easy to be able to look at royalty and put a lot on them because they are pretty secretive, I mean, so I can see that there can be some conspiracy theories kind of flowing from the royal line.
Yeah.
I mean, because we look at Princess Diana and, the situation with her life and believing that car crash was a murder. And not just an accident, being chased by the paparazzi.
Yeah.
So there's lots of already things that are in the mix, the mix with the royal family.
Yep.
So
that is absurd conspiracy number 1.
right.
All right. What do you got for us?
Yeah, the one that I'm gonna put out here at number 2, again, not in any specific order, is that and this comes from and bleeds with a lot of scientific, a lot of fantasy, science fiction stuff, but that the reptilians or lizard people actually are running the world, so there's prominent people in positions of power and authority throughout, not just the United States, because they have people that are here. They I think I've heard Mark Zuckerberg is a part of the lizard people, the reptilian group.
He kind of looks like a lizard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's, I think, memes and stuff that have been put out where they actually see him blinking because he blinks weird when he's... But that they actually have then the lizard, because the lizards blink differently. So, I mean, so there's this theory that these reptilians are actually, running much of the world, and that some of this started with alien abduction. There was a British conspiracy theorist by David Icke who first published on the theme in 1999 called The Biggest Secret. Tall, blood-drinking, shape-shifting reptilian humanoids from the Alpha Draconis star system, now hiding in underground bases, and the force behind the worldwide conspiracy against humanity. He contends that most of the world's ancient and modern leaders are related to these reptilians. So it was a theory that was put out, and it seems to me that we could say that this one they're pointing to in 1999, but it could be before that. But it's a lot of things that have to do with politics. And in going back to much of our, what we talked about in the last couple of weeks, or episodes of Cut Daisies, is that it goes back to the power structure. Like somebody, like I'm not there, and so they must be doing something that is secret or shady or, kind of New World Order-ish. And the lizard people are part of that, I put this in an absurd camp. Now I know, just like the, King Charles is a vampire, there's probably somebody who fully believes that the lizard people and King Charles is a vampire. I put it in the absurd camp because lizards haven't been found to be an actual race of people. So I'm going to put this in the absurd camp.
All right.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's interesting that in science fiction, we talked on a previous episode about, hey, does art inform life or does life inform art?
Yeah.
And so science fiction, like when I think of myself as a 6-year-old watching episodes of the first origins of Star Trek, the idea that they had comms, like these little flip things that they'd be able to talk into, and and now we take a look, and I think many people have said over and over again, there's more technology in our phones than was in the first spaceships that flew into outer space.
Yeah.
So, when you consider, like, from some of those things, and Bezos and, a bunch of the smart people, Elon Musk, these people, like, go to science fiction and say, okay, how can we backward engineer this? What a great idea. Then the other question is, how did authors come up with the ideas? Like, how is someone's mind so imaginative that you can, just make up races and creeds and just all these different things,
Right.
And so, it begs the question in regards to where did reptilian people, in one of the articles on reptilian conspiracy and just the idea of reptilian humanoid, in South Asia and Southeast Asia, there's a mythology. The Nega are semi-divine creatures which are half human and half serpent. That goes all the way back in folklore. Then there's, fantasy or, and different people, even Tarzan at Earth's core, brought up a modern reptilian humanoid idea within its writing, and then they also bring in the science fiction as aliens closely resembling animals or reptilian aliens being a part. And actually, examples would be Gorn from Star Trek, the Drax from Enemy Mine. Star Trek Voyager features the Voth, a race that descends from dinosaurs, and they escaped extinction by leaving Earth to the Delta Quadrant. Doctor Who has interactions with reptilian humanoids such as the Silurians. I like in my head I should be able to say this word lots better. And
it happens.
Even in Dungeons and Dragons, there is, a group that's based on people who are dragon folk, and so they put dragons together in with reptilian race, and it's in people's heads. But again, hey, is this reality? I think most people groups have folklore on shapeshifters.
Yeah.
And this would have to be, and I think it goes back into our discussion from our first episode when we talked about conspiracies and how that fear and fear of extinction brings us into the waters that breed these ideas of conspiracy and how it all fits together. So I'm thinking that that's absurd.
Yeah, so I was looking, The Atlantic has an article, and they apparently did a poll on a number of Americans, a large percentage. I guess the polling numbers were pretty big, but it says that only 4%, so 4% of America believes that lizard people control politics, which is about 12.5 million people. Now, 4% is low, but we're also looking at apparently 12 million people believe this.
Yeah. Wow.
So there's somebody. Now if you're looking at aliens existing versus the reptilian people would be an alien people, but it's like aliens exist, we get, 30% of people, and so that's 91 million people believe that aliens exist. Now, so that's a pretty high up there. Now, a lot of these, ones that were polled, you can find definite strings that are kind of attached to each other.
Right.
So if you believe an alien exists, then it wouldn't be far stretched to say that there's a lizard alien people,
Right.
And then from there, yes, and now they're embedded in politics.
Well, and so then the other thing is if you believe that there is an alien, a lizard alien people or a lizard people going down the road of what was written in Tarzan, you wouldn't have very far to walk to be able to believe that the earth is hollow.
Right.
And so in 2014, scientists released new unknown findings about the Earth's core, and let's just say conspiracy theorists took it and ran with it. After learning that we don't know much about all the surface of the Earth or what lies beneath in its layers, the hollow Earth theory gained traction. Some believers even think there's an Earth inside the Earth. But hey, you know what? Lizards are attracted to warmth. And if at the core, lava's got to come from somewhere, right?
Right.
So then why wouldn't they burrow down be able to be warmed until the need to surface.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
next absurdity.
Technically, that would be number 3.
Right.
Hollow Earth theory.
Yes.
But I mean, somebody could say you don't know, and I would say you're right. I don't.
And neither do you.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's where we actually land with it. Yes, you don't know either.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's the same thing, that why we outline conspiracy theories, because people can take a thread of something and then really try to just pull at it and find whatever it is that may be so ambiguous that you can say this is proof of the conspiracy, and you're like, yeah, let's pull the thread further and see what you actually find there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you're going with the next absurdity is the earth is hollow, or?
Well, I mentioned it,
Yeah.
and so I'm just, I actually found a podcast where these guys sound about as crazy as we are. And I was listening to it on the train ride home yesterday. And as I did that, and maybe it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. Yeah, it was Monday. No, yes, no, yes, yes, no. Whatever day it was this week, ever since I've been taking that trip, and then my whole week, my days are off. I can't believe today's Wednesday already.
Right.
So hollow earth. I don't know. It's it just seems that are there only pockets where the molten lava is coming up and spewing forth, or the time that we really dove into that and looked into that more was the time that we were talking about King Kong versus Godzilla, the movie that came out, and they go down into this paradise, which is based on the earth and the world, or the system, inside the earth. Are there a bunch of dinosaurs living at the core, and we're the crust people?
Right. The crust people. Yeah, but that hollow earth apparently goes all the way back to the late 17th century. So, I mean, we're not talking about something that's a new conspiracy theory either. I mean, this is, relatively has some hundreds of years of people, trying to be able to dig into this one.
Well, and I don't get which I'm not a major historian. So you know what, folks, if you're letting your kids listen to this, don't base any of their schoolwork based on what you heard here. That just needs to be a disclaimer.
We already brought in the idea that it's absurd, so
right, yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you would ever base your science on something that we've already thrown out there and said this is absurd.
So back in the day, when people thought the Earth was flat,
right, and still some people do. It's
right.
Crazy.
Is that number 4?
Yeah,
absurd,
we probably
flat Earth.
We should just bring in that too, flat Earth theory.
But here's the thing: is Columbus is, or it's been said that he discovered the Americas. North America and South America, that there's a different continent. Basically, people were trying to figure out how to get, how could they get wares from China to the area currently known as the United Kingdom, and Great Britain. I mean, all of this stuff. And, then Christopher Columbus gets deemed as the person who came and discovered all these things. Well, more and more information is coming out that long before Columbus ever sailed, that there are people in Portugal and Spain who are already making trips and hitting North America into Canada. And I do know this from watching The Curse of Oak Island. And, you know, these are real historians who are digging in, and like they have just a whole network of people who are gathering information for them. But when you get into the Knights Templar and the riches that were taken out of the Middle East during the Crusades, and then the establishment of a banking system and all these different things like that, you know, like I remember being taught in elementary school that up until Columbus, you know, sailed, they believed that the earth was flat. Well, this is during the same time that they think that the earth's core is hollow, you know, and people, they also thought back in that day that the sun revolved around the earth. Once again, a hat tip to the narcissism of humanity.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, so the flat earthers, which, you know, as I mentioned to you, there's still people who are talking about it. It was funny. There's people in our political system in Congress, United States Congress, who are still promoting flat Earth theory. And, you know, it's like some of the absurdity which you can hear like is, have you ever seen a round map? Yes, it's called a globe.
Right.
Have you never seen a globe? But they're like, all of our maps are flat, and it's like is that the thread that you're going on? Is that we have printed maps that are flat, and so therefore the Earth is flat? I mean, there's so much absurdity in the flat Earth theory, especially, you know, if you consider that we have images from space looking at the Earth and it's not flat. I mean, we have actual evidence, you know, that speaks against this, and yet this is the reason why. I mean, there's still a whole bunch, I would probably say in the millions range, that people are who are still reporting, believing, and spewing this absurd conspiracy that somehow we live on a flat Earth.
Huh.
Yeah. So this is what happens with absurd conspiracy. Like, you hear it, and you're like, you're even listening to the words that are coming out of people's mouths, and you're like, do you believe this too? Like, and I'm supposed to walk away and say we have the same like shared humanity.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
And so, but, you know, in a quick read and taking a look on Scientific American, I mean, there are people who have multiple degrees, well educated, and they believe that, yeah, it's flat. Now, I would guess, based on how the flat is bent,
Yeah.
not round, but just bent,
Yeah.
that it would be easy for a flat earther to believe that the core of the earth is hollow.
Yeah. Because, I mean, wouldn't...
Does something flat have a core?
Yeah. That's what I was about to go to. Like, how do you still have a core if it's... So, I mean, these two, we would still say both of them absurd, because both of them have been studied and have found, you know, lacking evidence of both. And yet, could a flat earther be still that there's still something underneath, right, that we're unaware of? Yes, that could happen too. So it may not be a core, because a core still is round.
Yeah.
But is there still something underneath our flat Earth? Could be that they think that too.
Yeah.
Absurdity.
It's so absurd. So absurd.
Yeah.
How about you? What do you got? I think we're at like 4.
Yeah.
four
Yeah,
different.
because we threw the Earth and it had multiple.
Yeah, yeah, and this is what happens. This is a quilted web of information.
Yeah.
That continues to.
So I'm going to take it out of like something that's definitely, I mean, scientific, right? We've been looking at some of these things scientifically. Go figure, right? Look at things scientifically.
Yeah.
But, into the realm of, to me, artistry. And so many times we have artists that get, they pop up that are, that have died, and that some reason conspiracy theory exists that they haven't died.
First on my list in regards to that the first person that comes to my mind is Elvis Presley.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I would say next on the list would be, to me, Tupac.
Right.
So they would say Elvis still alive, even though I think he'd be, 90 now? I don't even know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe in that 80, 90 range. So Elvis is still alive. Tupac is still alive. Now, the theory on it, on the Elvis one, because that one comes up on a top list of what people believe, is that there's one that's saying that Elvis actually faked his own death. So he wanted to be able to, have people think that he was dead.
That movie on Elvis.
Right. The latest, yeah.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I think it's stored at Max.
I think so.
Which used to be HBO,
mm-hmm.
home box office. HBO Max, the movie Elvis was more about his manager,
right,
and the control that his manager took over,
right,
with him. And so, but if you've not seen that movie,
mm-hmm.
Tom Hanks,
yeah, he plays the captain, right,
Colonel,
yeah,
yeah, he plays the colonel.
I knew it was a C.
And I just really. I like biographic. Like if I'm going to read a book, I want to read a biography and bioptic, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah,
is super cool. With actually another movie, the new Something Stars, the LeBron James story.
Oh,
just came out like in this last week. Fantastically done. Actually, that's a good family movie. Not a lot of adult themed things, but yeah, so I digress. But Elvis movie,
yeah.
it just really, really puts into you some of the emotion that Elvis was going through in the later years, because I mean, he basically was in a life contract at Vegas because of the mismanagement.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
And apparently his gambling habits, right?
The Colonel's gambling habits, yeah. And so, I mean, when your life is being held captive, he wanted to do a world tour and so many other things, But gosh, I mean, what other thoughts about Elvis do you have?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. In bringing that movie into it actually shows a side that some people didn't realize was happening with Elvis. So his decline was a lot of once he realized that he was stuck here in Vegas and he actually couldn't go on world tour because of the colonel, his management and the mismanagement. And being so caught up in that, became depressed, overeating, overusing, substances, and then just saying like the only way out is I got to fake my own death. And I think that's where the kind of again with conspiracy theory, a thread of truth comes in and says, oh, well, we definitely know his management was bad. And so, therefore, the only way to get out from underneath this mismanagement was to do this. Now, what's on the other side of that? What would be questions that you would have based on, like, why would this not be a credible source for him faking death?
I don't know.
So you're saying this could be a possibility?
Well, I'm reading on this, and in like 1989, three Las Vegas Elvis enthusiasts created the Elvis Sighting Society to monitor apparent appearances. This is hilarious. Some people even claim he appeared as an extra in the 1990s blockbuster movie Home Alone, which is funny to me because I live on the street where the house is.
Right.
One of the biggest conspiracy theorists believe Elvis might have caused Elvis to fake his death was his ties with the mafia. But that goes back, his ties with the mafia were the ties due to his the colonel having big gambling debts, and with him pulling in Vegas, the whole thing there. Apparently, Gail Brewer Giorgio stated that she reviewed thousands of FBI documents, coming to the conclusion that Elvis was an American hero who needed to go into witness protection. She was convinced he didn't die. After the FBI enlisted Elvis as an undercover agent in '76 to help the agency inflate a criminal organization called the Fraternity, which was made up of a dozen racketeers. Brewer believed that Elvis volunteered due to his love for America and respect for the FBI, and the author believed that the agency approached Elvis after a member of the fraternity had apparent dealing with Presley over the sale of an airplane he bought, but when Elvis was found to be a mole, he was put in the witness protection program. See, these seem reasonable.
Well, I mean, then there's the. Did you ever watch the? I think it was a movie, and I think it was loosely based on a true story, but it was called Elvis and Nixon, or Nixon and Elvis, where there was like this moment that they said Elvis met Nixon in the Oval Office, but they kept it under wraps. So, like, based on some of that.
Yeah.
Would be like still walking in line with, him wanting to do for, the country. So yeah, it is interesting. So maybe, with some of this that it, it moves a little bit out of the absurd, but I think that there's the nature of, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot that, I mean, like, if you would have asked his daughter before she died, would she have wanted her dad to be around? Probably. Her grandkids, his ex-wife even. So there's certain things that I think it plays on the family a little bit too, like. And then people will say, well, they knew, or, they already, I there are parts of that I don't believe that they would have been a part of this conspiracy theory. They actually believe that Elvis died. So I don't know. So I go into some of that as well. Like, why would they not put, his whole family into witness protection then? So those are some of the questions I would have on that side.
Well, there was an interview in 2005 where with Oprah and Elvis's wife Priscilla. Oprah asks Priscilla how Presley would spoil their daughter, Lisa Marie, and skeptics believe Priscilla said, "It's exactly what he said the other day," before correcting herself, "What you said." And then they said Lisa Marie evaded answering Larry King's questions during a 2003 interview when the host asked if she never feels communication with her father. There's some parts where, I don't know. The other thing that I find just really cool is that in Daisy Jones and the Six that Daisy Jones is actually Elvis's granddaughter. Mm-hmm. I mean, that to me, that's cool. I mean, the girl's got pipes, and she's like more of an actor than she is even as a singer. But I mean, man, what a great series.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other part is you start looking at the age of like whether Elvis was still alive or currently is. I mean, like then there's the other part, and I mean, like just as an aging human being, and the thing that I just wonder is the need to perform, or was he just so elated to not to have to live that life any longer after he was basically pimped out to the mafia to bring money in to be a great place for cash to be laundered. So we got Elvis.
So Elvis, it says that he, in 2023, would have been celebrating 88.
Oh.
So 88 years old.
And that's, I mean, like, you just wonder about health. Mm-hmm. But obviously, if he was put into witness protection, all of his credentials and all those things, would have been changed over. And
right.
But boy, and quite frankly, here's another thing that we can't discount: plastic surgery.
Sure. Right. Reconstructing, because there are people who have had plastic surgery, or like, I would never have recognized them.
Right.
There you go.
And shall I say Raymond Reddington?
Right.
Who actually might be a woman.
Right. We go into, I think, to me, go to the Beatles, and this wasn't a fake death, but they actually say Paul McCartney died in 1966.
Yeah.
And that then they just got somebody right to replace him because they wanted the Beatles to continue, so much that he died in a 1966 car accident. And that the urban legend actually says that, that all of the Beatles knew this. Because in the one song, I'm trying to remember go back there, that there were clues that were hidden in some of their songs, like if you play it backwards and that whole thing, that you can actually, that it says, Paul is dead, Paul is dead, Paul is dead. So there's a whole conspiracy theory that surrounds this idea that Paul McCartney died in 1966. Any thoughts on that? Because Paul McCartney, as far as we know, is still alive today.
Yeah. So here's the deal. If Paul died back in 66, then all of everything that has happened from 66 forward is Paul McCartney number 2. Those are his actual accomplishments.
Yeah.
He didn't even marry his first wife until 1969. Mm-hmm. And that lasted until 1998. And then he was married, that was to Linda. Then he married Heather Mills from 2002 to 2008. Maybe she couldn't handle the secret. And then 3 years later, he gets married to Nancy. And apparently is currently married to Nancy. The reality is, though, is there's a lot of living in life and like things that have been accomplished.
Yeah.
What's the chances of a double being able to play left-handed bass
Right.
Like vocal match.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of, to me, the inconsistencies would come in. And like, to me, why I would still place this one and keep it in the absurd range would be, like, some of the evidence that they're pointing to would be like this playing the tape backwards or record backwards. Like, I don't ever trust anything that says play a record backwards and you're going to find some secret messages decoded. Or what they also say is they point to the cover of Abbey Road and they're saying Paul is the only one who's barefoot and he's out of step. I'm like, so that's your evidence for he died in 1966?
Yeah, I'm not buying that. Well, whoever the dude is,
yeah,
living life as Paul McCartney is a very talented individual.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just when him and Grohl sit down and write this tune,
right?
That was fantastic. Mm-hmm. That they won a music award for that song,
right?
That was also fantastic. But maybe it was just all arranged by lizard people.
We're just going to blend all of them in. Yeah. So, and so that's why I kept this one in the realm of like the artistry, kind of musician wise, that there's still a lot of theories surrounding this. Any other ones you want to?
Well, you can just walk down the road of all these people that passed away, before their time. So Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, the 27 Club.
Yeah, I wonder if she's alive somewhere. Then what about Jimi Hendrix? What about, you just go down. Kurt Cobain. Yeah, Kurt probably just needed to get away from Courtney. And,
that too.
And so, so now we drop into deep. So what is death, really?
Well, to me, and even the Kurt Cobain has lots of theories around it as far as saying that, that she actually did have him killed. So,
right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he may not be. He's probably not alive because she killed him, not he committed suicide. So
yeah.
So there's a lot of that surrounds that as well. So and I think it's with these, like, you're always looking for a bigger story, right? Mm-hmm. You want to sensationalize something that's not. And honestly, some of the stuff with Kurt Cobain, I've watched documentaries on, like, it seems viable. Again, it's the threads of truth, that come up, and so.
And just going along those lines, kind of tied in with death and what really happened. I remember as a child, there were two major pilots in history that there was, great question about. And the Lindenberg baby that got, quote unquote, kidnapped, or who knows what happened. And then Amelia Earhart. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, there's just something in me as a child growing up that, these unsolved, mysterious disappearances, just kind of like took my chest, where I'm like, man, I'm just really, just wondering. And I think that's where the Inquirer, that was in the heyday of the Inquirer, all these, gossip rags, that were telling stories and, all that stuff. But again, in an absurdity, as far as conspiracy, she disappeared. Amelia Earhart disappeared in 1937. Now, put that into context. Airplanes she was on this going to fly around the world kind of thing. Oh no, what happened to Amelia Earhart in 1937? We're 7 years after the Great Depression, 1930s, late 20s, 1930s. And so it says, while it's believed that she ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean, some think she landed by mistake on a deserted island. Now, I would tell you this. I don't think Amelia Earhart would have mistakenly landed anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was a really smart person.
Yeah.
You know, and a pilot.
She understood the navigation process.
Now, she could have, based on a situation, been forced down in a place where she wouldn't have picked.
Right.
You know, and so, but like, some think she landed by mistake. I think, you know what, that's might be the most stupid sentence I've read on all of these crazy things. But she landed by mistake on a desert island and was eventually eaten by the 3-foot-long coconut crabs that inhabited the shores. Death by crabs.
And how is any of that verifiable? I mean, like, to me, you could make up anything then in that realm, be like, oh, there are these crabs. Well, why would you think that there'd be... I mean, this is absurd.
Well, I mean, and I don't think that the crabs would have eaten her while she was alive. And quite frankly, if there were crabs, wouldn't she have figured out some way to be able to eat them?
Right.
And
to survive.
And so the question is fresh water. You know, if she's on a deserted island, it doesn't even mean that the island had access. It could have been surrounded by saltwater, ocean, you know, kind of thing. And so, you know, but was there fresh water? If there were crabs in fresh water, I mean, she could have, you know, gotten along for some time. Mm-hmm. You know, probably would have, you know, tried to figure out some way to make fire.
Right.
She did have goggles on from flying. So, you know, I think fire would have been a hard thing. But again, somebody who's going to fly around the world in an airplane, mm-hmm. wouldn't you think you'd be taking in like some kind of emergency kit, like flares, or I mean, like, and yeah. So I don't know. I bet to that sentence in this point, you can take a picture or off of anywhere. Mm-hmm. You can put it up, and you can write down stupid sentences.
Right.
What? Yeah, I think she landed on a deserted island. And the 3-foot coconut crabs ate her. Well, they probably ate her after she died, picked her bones clean.
Yeah. But you could easily turn that into the crab people, right?
Right.
There's an alien race of crab people that ended up eating a million. Like, okay. I mean, that would be just as viable.
Yeah. Or Captain Jack Sparrow showed up.
Right.
And pillaged
with
the
his
plane.
rum.
Yes. Oh, my word.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
A bottle of rum.
So, yeah. I mean, so right now we're almost an hour and 20. So,
no.
Just talking about absurdities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And finding that maybe some of them aren't so absurd. I guess just the Elvis one.
Well, and we just, you know, trigger alert. We have stayed away from a lot of things that would be sensitive.
Sure.
And so, like, we're just not even diving into, like, if I say Bill Gates, that could give you a little bit of an idea. Or we can talk through technologies, or we can, you know, we can get into, I mean, there are a lot of things out there, but we just, for our listenership, we've stayed away from politics and the political, not only political, but also the health of many, and just we're staying away from it on purpose,
right?
For the sake of, we don't want to create conflict today.
Today, yes. So today is the key word. Yeah. So because there is absurdity elsewhere as well. Like, these aren't I mean, we've gone over maybe 6, I don't know. And we also believe that there are other conspiracies that are absurd, just so you know.
Yeah.
This is not the exhaustive list of 6. You know, there's many others that we believe would be absurd that we're also not talking about today.
It's true.
Also, for the sake of time as well. I mean, we know that you have some things you're trying to do today too. And maybe we've just given you a little bit of things to start your journey into the absurdity.
Those are options.
They're options. Just for you today.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So we're wrapping up the absurd. What would you say is a good way to be able to deal with the absurd?
I would just ask the question of where do you want to expend your emotional energy?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's about, like, how am I going to exert my emotional energy?
Yeah.
And is it going to be, now we've spent probably too much time on this line of thought.
I mean, we had to do it at some point in time, and since we were spending so much of this season talking about conspiracy, that like bringing out some of the absurd is good, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and when you take a look at it and you boil it down, but we go back to there are corners of our hearts that are dedicated to being able to side with and understand that there are things that we don't have all the answers to, that we do choose to believe that is like in motion and at work. And for those who have missed yet another episode, just as a refresher, Phil's big on governmental conspiracies.
Right.
Me personally, I'm more about the secret societies.
Mm-hmm. New World Orders.
Yep.
Illuminatis.
The Illuminatis, the Templars, the Knights of the Templar, and and the so much. But, I think that it boils down to, you have to ask this other question. If there's something that brings such a rise emotionally out of us, like, I'm not gonna waste a bunch of time sitting down with people and like defending my reasoning for why I think that the Illuminati or the New World Order, or there's a select group of really influential people that shape and nurture the political climate around the world. I mean, it's just like, hey, okay, we've got other things that we can do, talk about, all that stuff. How about you? What do you have to say about the absurd? How do you reconcile this?
To me, the way that I would that I treat the absurd, because sometimes I like to read about it. Sometimes I like to hear some absurd things, but usually what I would do with that is still say, like, in one ear out the other. Like, and going back to where are we actually going to be spending our emotional capacities, our time capacity, our emotional capacity. Like, I don't want to spend it there. Like, there's too many other things to be able to get involved with, to be able to spend hours upon hours or days or months or even years going down rabbit holes of the absurd. And so sometimes it's good to be able to hear it and you're like, okay, let's release that now. It was fun. We had a laugh. Let it go. Right.
I laughed. Ho, 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 ho.
Yeah. So sometimes that's where we need to leave it.
Yeah.
Let it go.
It's true. We talked ourselves right out of it.
Right.
Boom.
Boom.
All right. Well, hopefully, whatever day it is that you're listening to this, you are going to have a great day. Or maybe your day's been great and you've had to chuckle away on the inside.
Yeah, most of the time when I'm listening, it's morning, so
Yeah.
it's like the finishing out of the day, you know. So
Yeah.
yep, wherever you're at, hope you enjoy it.
Maybe we should do a palate cleanser next week.
Maybe.
I should have time next week. Probably on Wednesday again.
Yeah.
But the palate cleanser is just us talking about absolutely nothing again.
We'll go back to the nothingness.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's what we'll throw in for episode 6 next week. We'll see. Join us. And until then, be well.
Beware. Because
Always, yeah.
look over your shoulder, because you don't know who's sneaking up on you.
Look both ways before you cross the road.
It's true. All right, take it easy, everybody.
Peace.